So, I was meeting with my therapist this is about a week ago now, and I was telling him how I realized that I just keep really putting myself in bad situations in my love life, and I realized that it boils down to low self-esteem. And so he's like, well, let's come up with a self-esteem list. And we were coming up with things like, oh, I'm a nice person, I'm kind, I like to listen, things that are warm and fuzzy and are more important than being fuckable. But my self esteem is not about those things. I feel pretty okay with myself about those things. I really have low self esteem in the fuckability thing. It's like, like when you're like, man, I don't have any friends. And then your friends are like, no, we're your friends. What are you talking about? And you're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I do have friends. I guess what I really meant was I don't have any women in my life who are down to get romantical with me. So that's a thing that I have been struggling with. And I also, feel like in general, my self esteem is, I think a good analogy is, do you remember? I want to say it was the third Wolfenstein game where you start out when you're in this wheelchair and like you keep having to find health packs or else your health will deplete. That's where I am at with my self-esteem. Like, I'm not at the point where you find that cool suit and you can keep your health at 100% without having to constantly fix it. Like, I need a regular boost. So that's what this video is about. This video is going to be public, but it's also kind of mostly for me, just trying to recognize that no matter what happens, I should have self-esteem for myself and recognize that I am a valuable person and a fuckable person. So, right off the get-go, I have a physical frame that is not dissimilar to Donnie Benet. Who is Donnie Benet, you might ask? Well, have you ever felt like attracted to someone in a way that might have been sexual? That's because of Donnie Benet. Donnie Benet is the man. You might look like Donnie Benet, but you don't make music like he does. Au contraire! I wrote a really great song, and you know what? I sent it to Venus Lux, and she said, that is a great song. And I only had to pay her $100 to do that on Cameo. You paid $100 to show someone a song? That's so lame. Guess what? I've probably watched $5,000 worth of pornography she did, and I didn't pay a penny for it. So who came out on top on that one? Venus, if you see this, I wouldn't rip you off like that. That was just a joke. I was thinking, hey, for the kids that we adopt, how about Nigel if it's a boy and Cynthia if it's a girl? Let me know how you feel about that. I wrote a really cool book. I'm working on the 6th draft right now. It's going a little slow with stuff like ADHD. Oh, I'll talk about that soon. But, it's going to come out hopefully within the next year. And you're going to be like, wow, you wrote this all by yourself? No, I had a lot of help. But, most of the work, yeah. I wrote a trashy vampire novel. About a year ago, I went to a doctor's office and I said, I think I might have ADHD. And they tested me and the doctor showed me a graph like this. And he said, all right, so here's where a normal person is for these problems. Here's where a person with ADHD is for these problems. You would be off the paper somewhere up here. I'm literally off the charts with ADHD. I smell like ADHD? Mofo, I am ADHD. I have a cool bike. I'm almost 40 years old. And while that might on the surface sound like a bad thing, have you ever tried to be in a healthy relationship with a dude in his 20s? Like all the shit about toxic masculinity, where you're like, oh, you don't like me that way. That must mean that there's some flaw in one of us, and I'm going to assume that it's me and blah, make your life miserable. That's all behind me. And I'm not going to act like I'm not going to have a rough breakup here. You know, it's probably still in the cards. But at least I'm not going to be a total jerk about it. At least I can act like an adult. That's pretty fucking cool. In addition, now that I'm almost 40, my parents will love you, no matter who you are. They will be so excited that I'm bringing someone home that they won't even care if you are completely awful in every way. But you won't be. My mom will show you how to make tacos, maybe. It's not going to be authentic, but I think they're really good. I'm in this band called the Brontosaurus. We really rock. I write songs about dinosaurs and other awesome stuff. I was in the middle of working on an EP where I wrote a different grindcore song for every genus of dromaeosaur. Turns out that there's a lot of different genuses of dromaeosaur. So the songs went from, we'll write like 6 songs and they'll each be about 2 minutes, to we're going to write 40 songs and they're each going to be 10 seconds. Also, I started writing an EP of songs about prehistoric rhinoceroses and other mammals. I will get that finished as soon as I'm done with the dromaeosaur thing, which I will get finished as soon as I'm done with the book. It's difficult to focus on one thing at a time when you have superhuman levels of ADHD, but I'm doing pretty good. I grew up on a cattle ranch, and you might not know many people who grew up on a cattle ranch. But if you do, you probably think people who grew up on cattle ranches are the kind of people who say, how come black people get their own Friday, but white people don't get a white Friday? And I'm different. I know that the term Black Friday has nothing to do with people of African descent, A, and I recognize that systemic racism has permeated every aspect of our culture, and in order to undo the damage that has been done, we need to pay special attention to the involvement of people of African descent, as well as other non-white people, in our history. I've been working in education for like 13 years now, and I'm really good at it. I had a kid tell me, hey, you're the coolest sub we've ever had. And when asked why, he said, because you're a guy, and because you have a Ninja Turtles keychain, which is true. I don't use it anymore because I got it at the Dollar Tree and it would always fall apart, and then I just go and buy a new one. And after like the 10th Ninja Turtles keychain that I bought, I decided to just not keep buying them. I have this weird thing like where my scalp will get kind of dandruffy and then I'll go to scratch it and it'll start bleeding. I have an appointment to see a doctor about it, but you know how seeing a doctor is right now with COVID and everything. I guess that's not really a good self-esteem thing. I just thought I'd share. Okay, on the real though, we had a lot of fun here today, and some of it was not super positive and sincere. It was kind of mocking, but I think that's kind of a good thing in itself and something that makes me great to be around. And at the end of the day, I really do think that I am a good person, worth being around, and that means fuckable as well. And I don't know who you are watching this, unless you're me, And I don't know what you're going through, but I hope you're doing well. And if you are having issues with your self esteem in any way, I hope you can make a video like this too and really realize what a great person you are and how we're so lucky to have you in this world. And that's really, if you take away anything from this, what I want you to take away. That's the end. I'm done now. So, goddamn fucking shit. This system is terrible.